This week's news from the tubes on F5 Live Refreshing Technology and GNC Week in Review is proudly powered by Malwarebytes. Whether you use a PC, a Mac, or a mobile device, Malwarebytes Premium is the company's strongest protection ever. It fights threats that traditional antivirus software can't stop, plus it actively blocks threats like worms, rogues, dialers, trojans, spyware, and a whole lot more. It allows you to use your computer and mobile devices with confidence and peace of mind. To learn more and to get a special price, you can go to f5live.tv/malwarebytes. Security is a big topic, and it's going to continue here. So last month, during the Labor Day weekend, there was a ransomware attack against the LA Unified School District. It's not uncommon over the last couple of years. Avram and I, and probably I think Kirk and I as well on the other show, we've talked a lot about these ransomware attacks, specifically going after government, schools, stuff like that. This one was from a group called Vice Society, and the school district essentially was told by the U.S. Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, whom Avram and I have discussed in the past, not to pay the ransom, which I think, as we all know, as soon as you pay the ransom once, right, it only encourages more of it. It's what happens all the time. And you give them money to support the next ransomware attack, which will be more intense than the last. Anyway, so now a 500 gigabyte data cache, which, by the way, not a ton of data. That's only about 10 times the video of tonight's show. It's not a ton of data, but if you're talking things like text documents, PDFs, that can add up real quick. A 500 gigabyte data cache has been released because the ransom was not paid. They had until the 4th. They did not do it. And so now the data is out in the wild. It is the risk you take, right? The possibility with this kind of breach is that they will either release data or destroy your computers, so you lose your data, or a combination of the both. They're not mutually exclusive. At least in this case, the entire LA school district didn't lose all their computers, which we've absolutely seen before. I can't remember what bank it was, but they had to cut an entire branch off their network because a ransomware got into it. So it's definitely interesting, and it's the risk we take in not funding what is essentially digital terrorism, right?
Yeah, I mean, look what happened. I think recently there was one with Gigabyte where a whole lot of data was, by the way, I mean the company Gigabyte, not gigabytes worth of data, which inevitably it was. But they refused to pay the ransom, or they didn't pay the ransom, and stuff got out, I think. So stuff happened, you have to make a decision about whether or not you're going to pay.
Yeah.
Extortion. I guess keep your data safe if you can, because it's a difficult decision whether you're going to pay, and if you pay, how do you know that they're not just going to come back again or somebody else? So,
and how do you know if you pay that in this case, since they didn't lock the computers out, how do you know they're not going to release the data cache anyway?
Right, exactly. If it's data that you're trying to keep them from revealing, how are you going to be sure that they don't reveal it?
Right.
Like give me all your copies or something?
Just because you pay the ransom doesn't mean they won't still kill the hostage, which is exactly what this was.
Right, exactly. So, I can't. Also, this is a public public school system where they are dealing with taxpayer dollars. Not sure I would be happy if my taxpayer dollars going to pay for that. Yeah, I mean, information gets out there. I guess the best thing we can do is try to create I think the best solution to data breaches, particularly if the data breach involves personal information, were there like social security numbers involved here or anything like that?
I have not seen any details on what was released. Kirk, do you know what kind of data was in there?
I'm looking right now. It doesn't say what kind of data.
Yeah, I didn't see it anywhere either.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know what data's in there. We can dig into that a little bit.
So if
yeah.
it were like personal data, even so, you can't pay them off. But we ought to create a society that is more tolerant of like not reliant on reliant on something like social security numbers for getting.
Well, that's
credit.
that was. I'm looking right now. It was social security numbers, bank account information, and health data that extends to students' psychological profiles.
Oh no!
Yeah,
I mean that is really bad.
Yeah.
I think the problem is anytime you're giving your data, you're creating a point of failure where it can be lost. So we need to. I mean, obviously, things like that are highly personal, like your medical data, are very hard. Like it's really hard to put that genie back in the bottle,
right?
If somebody has that, but it's something like your credit, social security number, your bank account number. Like there ought to be better security to prevent unauthorized people from using those in the
100%.
first place, and we ought to have a better ID system for this sort of thing than the social security number.
Yeah.
And so maybe this, I don't know what it is, but there are really bright minds out there who could probably put their heads to this. Like we ought to have methods that for payment and credit and things like that and identity that are a little bit more hack proof than this, because we're relying on all of these different entities. The other thing is there ought to be some limitation to what places can ask for, right? Like
agreed.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is you're usually as a person not in a good position to say no. Like I can't say how many times I've been to like a doctor and they're like, "You want your social security number?" And I'm not really sure that they need my social security number or why they would need it. Like they have my insurance number, right? Isn't that what they need?
Mm-hmm.
Like, but on the other hand, I want to go to the doctor, so I'm not going to get an argument with them. So, I mean, this is where there ought to be a law. Like you only ask for this. Oh, here's who can ask for this information, and other people it's illegal to collect.
Yeah, for sure. I got to tell you, my favorite part of this story, and the fact that there's a favorite part is a little sad, but my favorite part of this story is that the organization, the what do they call themselves? Vice Society. They released the data a day early, and they, while not directly saying that the reason that they did it was this, they basically said that the CISA had wasted their time by telling the school district that they were wrong to reject the extortion attempt. What? You wasted our time. Yes, exactly. Correct. Ding, ding, ding. You nailed it. That was the goal. And the idea that they're like, well, I can't. You wasted our time. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep.
That's absolutely amazing. We're going to release the data a day early because the government wasted our time by discouraging extortion.
That takes balls.
Right? It really does. And of course, by that, you mean the energy drink that the programmers were probably drinking.
And if they probably had a tattoo or not.
Not hashtag ad.
Not hashtag.
So we don't know what the result of this will be. Oftentimes when we see these types of stories, the organization that was hacked ends up with some sort of a PII type protection service that's available to those who have been affected. It's the government. There's no telling, but definitely keep an eye out for that if you believe that you might have been affected by this data release.
Hello, YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of F5 Live Refreshing Technology. If you did, please subscribe to the channel down below, and of course hit the notification bell because we know that subscriptions don't mean much on YouTube anymore. If you've got topics that you'd like us to talk about in the future, please comment them down below. And if you'd like to not follow us on YouTube, there's lots of ways that you can follow along with our content by going to plughitslive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all of the ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along.